There you go. This feels right. Now it has the custom live streaming service. I
How's that?
feel like we're here. Hi YouTube. Welcome to episode 111 of Live with Lil. Let me mute that. Have you okay? Give you a recap. Last week we did not make it on because there you go. This feels right. Now it has oh, who is that? Is that you, Zach? So
Sorry,
okay,
I don't normally host this, so
Zach is in charge
there
of
we go.
hosting because England's Wi-Fi is down.
Is it hot in here?
all
Sorry.
over the country, I guess. We I wish that you guys could have seen 5 minutes before. I have been an absolute disaster. So here we are. Thank you for sticking with us, Warren Drummond, who is storyboarder extraordinaire. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
And Matt Mullins, stuntman aficionado, who we just couldn't stop talking about on episode 110. We had Katie Carroll and Denise Poor, and we were basically just talking about you all the time because you pop up a bunch in episode 110. So had to get you on.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's really good to see you guys. It's been way too long. Warren, great to see you. And Zach,
Brother, thank you.
let's do some zooming.
Yeah, it's a Zoom.
Wait.
I know, isn't life just Zoom right now? I need to. We should start the video. Brilliant. We should start the episode because what I tend to do is just chat, and then actually forget to play it. So, I think everybody can watch it, right?
Yes.
So if we are, oh my God, up to the Marvel flip. Right, is kind of.
Where
are we
all
there?
at? Yeah.
Just give us
Okay,
a
so
countdown.
we'll press play on 1. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Oh, mine's really loud. Yeah, let's do that loud. Okay. Oh my gosh, here we are. Matt, you were saying before we started streaming that you can't believe how long ago this was. When you said this was 6.5 years ago, I almost fell off the bed that I am balanced on. How crazy is that?
It's just amazing how fast it all went by because just throughout the show, you just come across so many people and so many skill sets and so many storylines that you almost forget that the amount that you did. It was I always like to think of S.H.I.E.L.D. as being half a Marvel episode and shot in 8 days and then on TV every week. So it's always incredible. Even the beginning, these are all done in less than a week. The whole episode.
This big fight scene now, when they're like now running down the corridors, and then just then with kind of the baddies in the hotel room. When you're given something like that to choreograph and then do, what is the timeline? How does that work for you and the stunt team?
Well, usually we sort of get things on our radar when you get the concept pages out. So when you actually get the idea of what the script is, you get a sense of it, but you don't really have an idea until you do a concept meeting and then you do a production meeting to actually figure it out. And that could be anywhere from 10 days before you get to prep it. But usually for something like this, you'd almost have like one day to actually be like, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do with the location. And then you end up assembling it. And then if everybody likes it, then you have to train everybody to do it. The stunt performers shoot a previs of it, get it approved, then show the actors, and then shoot it. So it could be, it's somewhere in between like 1 day to like 8 days total for the whole thing to be accomplished.
For it to get to be on set, ready to shoot it?
Yeah. Usually closer to the 1 to 2 days, not so much the 8, but it's on our radar at about 8.
Okay.
Right.
As a comic book fan, it was great seeing Agent Hand with her with that hair.
Yes.
I was like, they got it.
Yeah, because things like that are really like, there was a lot, people felt a lot of pressure about Agent Hand being there because, we've had Easter eggs of different Marvel characters, but this was someone that if you were a comic book fan, you would know Agent Hand. You wouldn't necessarily know her from the Marvel movie. So it felt like, oh my gosh, we're gonna hear if we don't get this right.
just like Major Talbot has to have a pencil thin mustache.
Yes.
That's just right. That's pure comics.
Warren, I love that you're such a comic book fan. Is that how you first got into storyboarding?
Yeah, I mean, my passion was growing up to be a comic book artist, and then in high school I started to wanted to be a writer. So they were competing, and when I got to college, I took 3 years of screenwriting. I didn't get into comics, and then finally, years after college, I finally got into the industry. I was able to use my comic book storytelling and my film knowledge to become a storyboard artist. It took a long time though, but comics was part of it.
What was there? What took so long? I mean, I know that that's probably a silly question, but like, how did you go? How did you keep going? What was your way in? What worked? What didn't?
I worked during college and after college. I worked in the store in New York, Bloomingdale's.
I worked at Bloomingdale's as well.
There you go. So I
worked
there
at Abercrombie, so slightly.
There you go. So I was there during college, helped pay for some college stuff. Then after college, I couldn't find work because I was not good enough to be a comic book artist, penciler, or inker. And then I was doing some freelance work, but I had to still bring in some income. So I went from being a part-timer to a full-timer. And then I wasn't quite sure about exactly storyboards. It was still freelance artist. I had it nailed down storyboards. It was like, I'm going to sell a script. I'm not there yet. So what happened was, to be very brief, I got into this group called the Black Filmmaker Foundation back in New York. And one of my friends there, a gent named Rodney Stringfellow, had some friends who were doing this movie called The Drop Squad, which was a low budget movie, which was produced by Spike Lee. He knew that I started doing storyboards. He recommended me. I got that movie, and then that movie got me out of Bloomingdale's. And then I followed with Above the Rim, which was a rock movie. And then it slowly started, but my career really creeped until Die Hard with Avengers did some second unit storyboards for the legendary Terry Leonard, who Matt will know very well. Terry's like my uncle. I love him that much. And that really propelled me into bigger movies. And then here I am. And then I moved to LA at the end of '99. So I had to kind of like start from scratch. But I was working with the late John Singleton all the time. So John helped me out a lot to get established in Los Angeles. And here I am.
Wow.
No crawl.
So when you left your job at Bloomingdale's, was that just a total leap of faith to go from a full-time job, but one you knew was only ever meant to be an interim thing? Was that a difficult transition to just kind of jump all in on one job, essentially, right?
I'd been there through part-time work to full-time for a decade. And I was at the point where I had to leave. And my friend Yvonne was like telling me, you have to go. And she had been there. My friend Gaston, who was a martial artist, Gaston told me if I ever came back, he would kick me in the neck.
Oh,
and I'm like, that's how much he loved me. And we're still friends all these years later. So, but I had a family behind me, and that was big. And I did it, but it was not easy at all. Like at all, where you're like, okay, I need a job now.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
not easy.
And that's amazing.
I actually wish I had done it years earlier, but that's, the hindsight, things now, oh, I should have done this. But I think I had to also, I was a little bit behind. I think I was just a little bit mentally behind as far as where I had to go career-wise. The good thing now being the Obi-Wan and the Obi-Warren, as my Padawans call me, I can now tell younger artists, you might think of doing this, you might think of doing that.
Yeah.
So, that's helpful. So that's the good part of it.
Yeah.
As my wife would tell people in show business, study business because it's show business.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to my wife, Betty, who always says business, no business. Don't be a don't be a stupid artist, you know. And we meet
Well,
stupid shit.
I mean, I think it's when you think of 10 years, you've got to a point in your career that's just so amazing. And for me, from the outside looking in, you just seem like you've done everything and there's nothing you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's like maybe you would have liked to have got there 10 years before, you still got there and you're there now, you know? So it's like, it
I'm
can
peaking
feel like a long.
It's, you know, this whole Corona nightmare has been a nightmare for everyone. I've been blessed to have worked through most of it. I had the first 2 months. The first 2 months were horrible. The first 2 months, like everybody else, was like, where's the meals going to come from? And I was in that phase where a lot of us were, you know, we might panic, but then I started getting little jobs. Friends would ask me to do storyboards for pitch meetings. So I had a few friends, director friends or writer friends doing pitch meetings. So I do boards from them. They would pay me out of their pocket. That was helpful. Unemployment helped a lot. And then I started getting a feature, did a movie that Channing Tatum is co-directing his first film. So I got to work with him, and I had met him years earlier, fellow martial artist also, very nice guy. And that helped a lot. And then I got the Ms. Marvel TV show that's filming now. So I'm
so excited about Ms. Marvel. I just can't wait for that.
Same here. So,
and I think it shows you with the, you know, with hard times, I'm sure, Matt, you've had a journey to get to where you are too, that at least with periods like this, if you're in the entertainment industry, we're kind of built to cope with periods of maybe not working so much. And, you know, it's kind of built into what I think we are used to a bit more, that maybe it didn't hit us quite as hard. But
no, that's accurate. But I think with any, you know, artist, no matter you're doing art on paper or art, you know, doing live production or acting, you end up finding ways to fill those gaps. So even if for me doing martial arts and stuff, like I still trained, like, even though it's difficult to try to, you know, do, you know, a fighting sport, you do it through Zoom, you figure it out, because that's
you
have to, no matter what it is. So,
hey, Matt, I have a couple of questions coming in from the chat, and one is from Bruce.
About this car thing as well. Like, I want to know how that car, because we just had a huge car stunt.
Yes, we'll do that first and then come back to the questions.
Is that okay?
Because that's what's up. Yeah, for sure.
How did, and also I feel like you're about to come on the screen, Matt, right? Is it this bit or is it, no, it's later?
I don't know. Clark escapes at some point here, and then I capture him and do I looked him up in the air like Darth Vader, but
yes.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit
stop for that bit. But the car thing. So how do you do that?
Well, for something like that, so they're actually, it's not like they're wrecking the car. They're running into a couple water barrels, so that it's done in a bunch of cuts, especially for something like that. So you ended up having the road closed off. You did shots before, like free driving. You had shots of Chloe on a process trailer with her actually in there, being towed, so she doesn't have to focus on the road. She could focus on her performance. Then you saw an overhead shot where the van actually crashed into the water barrels. It made it seem like they were going 70 miles an hour, but in all likelihood, they probably hit it at like 20, 30 miles an hour. That was a stunt performer driving, and they hit the brakes. Most likely what happened, because a lot of the cars nowadays have systems where the brakes will shut down, or they have airbags. So they disable the airbag and they disable the braking systems, so they're able to actually hit it and make it look good.
Looks so good. And then how did you do this with the guy upside down?
Yeah, that was all just on wires. It was pretty simple. Wires and an air blower. It's pretty simple because it was all just pulling him straight up, and he's upside down. And yeah, that was actually pretty simple because it was all on stage. Here comes Clark. Huh! Clark is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so we wanted to get him a rear naked choke in there. And of course, he did it marvelously and almost destroyed the stunt man.
Did he?
No. He was very, very safe. I'm just kidding. Like, again, he's a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, so he's exceptionally talented at that.
Yeah, that's so in because Colson didn't do that many stunts compared to like, you know, Quake or Ming or, you know, I feel like we should have used that more, no?
I thought about that.
I would have loved, I mean, there was one fight that he ends up doing with Chloe's dad, Mr. Hyde, in the second season where we tried, hey, there we go, get up there, Chloe. Where we ended up we tried to do a little bit of jujitsu with him in it, but it just didn't, you know, ultimately you have to serve the piece as much as possible. And, you know, not saying that we could pull off, a huge fight like that, but it just wasn't necessarily serving the story.
So I'll tie in one of the questions to this series, which was, what advice, this is from Patricia, what advice would you give actors who are preparing for action sequences, like before they meet you? Is there anything that they can do to sort of prep themselves before actual stunt training?
Yes. Be open-minded. I think everybody has their own version, or the stunt coordinators and team have different ways that they want to do it. So be open-minded, and then focus on doing it like you would if you were doing procedural drama. So if you were to do if you were going to be a doctor in a TV series, you had to put the same amount of effort into learning that dialogue and that jargon as you do into your martial arts and training. And just like on something like Dancing with the Stars, you have to be able to, work with your partner and then just keep doing it. It's not something that everybody has innately in them. You have to work on it, and it's a dance. So, you're not actually hitting anybody. So you have to find the ways to actually work together and, keep working at it. Chloe and Elizabeth both did a very good job in season 2. They did amazing training. I actually wish I could have done that. I was watching videos of you that I took from your training with your boxing and your kicking, and I'm just like, ooh, we got to do it.
Oh my God, Matt. As if there was a big fight scene in, God, what was that? I feel like it was like season 5.
I think
maybe season 4.
Was that the one that Kevin Tantron did?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. And in the end, we had to put in that Simmons was clearly terrible, because I just found it so much pressure doing a one in a fight scene that, thank God, all Simmons had to do was, oh, sorry, and fall over. And like, they wrote it in that Simmons, you're so sweet to say that, put me in the same category as Chloe Bennett. I mean, come on.
You guys were trained, but Chloe, again, she took her focus so much on the stunt work because Ming set such a high bar. She could, live up to that bar that also Ming started, because Chloe didn't necessarily have she had no experience fighting or doing that. But man, before season 2, she took 2 months before, every 3 to 4 times a week, 2 to 3 hours a day, just training, going from zero martial arts to what you saw on screen. And it was incredible.
You can tell.
Yeah,
you can tell,
paid off.
And then she kept going the whole series.
Kevin would just shoot single takes, so you can't really cheat in a single take.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
But that's how you end up, that's how you should train for fight sequences.
Yeah. How did you get into it, Matt? What was your, because I feel like stunt people come from lots of different disciplines, right? Mm-hmm. How did you get into it?
The long and short of it, I started doing Japanese Okinawan martial arts, and I was competing on a national competition circuit that focused. It was weird. Martial arts has evolved more over the last 20 years than it has over the last 400. So when I first started almost 30 years ago, martial arts was just, you'd have a tournament and everything was at the tournament. You'd have forms, which is performance of kind of like short dance routines, but martial arts. They're called katas. You'd have weapons, which are the same thing, but then you'd have the fighting aspect of it. And it was all in one. Nowadays, everything is so compartmentalized. You have just fighting, you have just form competitions, and then some gradations in between. So back then I was competing on the national circuit, and everybody at that time were really trying to push the limits on what we could do martial art wise. So we were starting to incorporate acrobatics, gymnastics, and that's what I excelled in, to the point that's what I competed internationally with. I won championships doing what's now called extreme martial arts. And then I started a team called Sideswipe, and we started doing live shows all over the country. Ended up doing 30 Seconds to Fame. We did America's Got Talent. We took 8th place on America's Got Talent as Team Sideswipe. And then after that, and the funny thing is, if you look at that original team, it was myself, Jackson Spidell, Chris Brewster, Craig Henningsen. Craig went on to go do all the Spider-Man stunts in the Broadway show. Brewster ended up doubling Daredevil. Jackson Spidell ended up being, doubling Chris Evans and Keanu Reeves. So from that point, we were just really apt and able to do stuff like huge live performances. And in the speed that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. moved, it really helped us out, because if you can get one person to not just put together cool moves, but have to do it without wires, without setup, and just do it over and over and over again, that's what you're able to do. So that's kind of how I got into it. And, my big joke was like, oh, how'd you get into stunts? I'm like, oh, I fell into it. But
I like that.
Yeah, thank you. But that's how, the long and the short of it. And in between there, when I first came out to California, I was a gypsy. I did everything from, I took acting classes. I did motion capture. We did live shows. We did, just anything that you could throw at us. If it sounded cool, we would just go do it. And it's a small community, as you know, especially as Warren knows as well. It's like everybody knows everybody, and it's still exciting. And still, I train. I never stop. And it's just like we were talking about before. As an artist, this is what you do, and you have to do it. So
yeah.
For folks that haven't seen how great Matt is as a martial artist, there was a Michael Jai White movie, Blood and Bone, and he and Michael Jai White, who's an exceptional martial artist, throw down, and Matt gives and takes, and his skill level. And Matt is as tall as I am, maybe a little bit taller. We're both like 6'2", and for him to be as agile and fast and to do acrobatics, it's not easy.
Thanks, Warren.
So, us.
Yes.
So awesome. And you have to have also a
coordinates received.
I think we're losing Lil. I do have a question. While she's coming back, I have a question for you, Warren.
Sure.
Can you explain, there's people that are asking, how do you get involved as a storyboard artist, but also the process from when you hear that they need a storyboard, how do you go through that process, and what are the steps?
Okay, as far as how to get into storyboards, I would say there's this great book called Shot by Shot by Stephen Katz, K-A-T-Z. You can get it on Amazon. It's a book on directing, but it has lots of storyboards in it. And in order to be a good storyboard artist, besides having the art skills, human anatomy, can draw environments, know your perspective, you have to know cinematic storytelling. So get that book by all means, Shot by Shot, Stephen Katz. As far as how we approach it, for a project, I usually will meet with either the director, the DP, who's the cinematographer, or the stunt coordinator, and we will go over the scene. What is the scene? They may have an idea of what the shots are that they need. Usually for TV, they'll know a lot of it because it's such a fast thing. They need to know a lot. But sometimes I will have to come up with the storytelling. But you have to have that initial conversation. What is the scene? What is the point of the scene? What are you trying to get out of it? And are there any things like you can't shoot in a certain direction because of that set's not complete? You got to shoot this way because of it looks better, or they built something to shoot in a certain direction. Will they use a lockdown camera? Will they use a steady cam, crane shots, all these things involved. So I'm on Twitter. If anyone wants to find out from me on Twitter, should be WD Artist, the W Drummond Artist on Twitter. And I'm on Instagram also, so they can ask me questions on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And if anyone never saw a board, this is a very close shot of what a storyboard might look like. Very close. Here's the shield. There you go.
I think we're losing Elizabeth.
I think she got sucked back to that other planet that happened to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
she's on a real version. I think that's a real version. So
I think we're losing.
Oh no, am I still gone?
There you go.
Now you're back.
Yeah.
Or she was.
Am I?
Now there you go.
Oh,
We just talked about you. Don't worry about it.
I could hear you guys. I just felt like I was just, a regular viewer. Am
You're
I
very
back?
close.
No.
Yeah, you are kind of. I think we can hear you.
Where are you guys at in the episode? Because mine froze.
Clark is talking to Ruth at the moment about I can't remember what the name of the scene was, but
I'm about there. Yeah, okay, so I'm there. I feel like you're about to show up, right, Matt?
I can't remember. I know yeah.
How do you cope on set, Matt, with like actors that might not be stunt minded? Like, can you change some moves so that they are more able to do it, or do you just suggest them training more, or because you have to make everybody look cool, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning of every stunt viz or everything we try to do, we see what people's strengths and their weaknesses are, and we always try to highlight the strengths. And there's certain things that everybody does slightly better, so it's like, okay, this looks really good and we can do that from here. Or you decide whether or not you can break up a certain move and use the double in a certain way if you're trying to ultimately, if it's important to the story. Or you think that it's critical in this way, then you figure out how to break it down to do it. But I always tried to highlight I know that, Elizabeth has a super high left round kick. So when she's going to this Hydra guy in the face, we're going to make sure to highlight this left kick from this side to make sure we can do it. And then if it's something that's, super fantastical, then if we have time to do things like wires to assist, I mean, there's whole sequences that could be done on wires that, I always like to stick around, especially with the superhero shows that involve humans, to make it reality plus 10%. So to make it look fantastical, but still based in reality. It's one of the things that I loved about a lot of the Jackie Chan movies, because he looks superhuman, but it's just little tiny assists that make him look that way. And of course he has that so high ability, but just little tiny assists. Like there's a move in Rush Hour where he does that kip over an ottoman, and it's like, it looks so real, but it's actually on a small wire assist. So things like that help the overall stunt performer and the overall sequence.
That's
So
so cool.
And the fact that they have to do take after take too.
Right.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about how Kevin Tancherone is sort of known for these one-ers and these action sequences. How do you guys work, since he has these specific stylistic points, how do you guys work with that, knowing that the camera's going to be moving so much, and do you know certain points that he's going to want to hit ahead of time from like an action sequence and storyboarding so that you're capturing those? Is that part of like the creative process?
Well, I think especially, working with Warren on a lot of these shots was really fun, because, we all look at the script and we all have interpretation of where this could go. And then you start to refine the process by, this is where we think stunts goes. Warren helps take a look at it from, perspective of all the other, departments, from the DP, from the director, and we just start to, whittle it down. Then we actually look at the set and we look at the props that we have, and we just try to make it as interesting as possible. And if there's moves that if the actor is in it the entire time, we try to figure out, how we can ultimately, keep them in it as much as we can, or we figure out where we could do switches. In the sequence that Elizabeth was talking about with all the, I know it was on the bus, I can't remember what it was, but everybody was fighting in that. And there's a few times where we did cowboy switches where, where one of the actors, you'd see Ming's face the entire time, but at some point she does like a flip off of a box. When the camera was turning, we switched out the stunt performer. So when the camera came back around, that was the stunt performer. Then it came back around again, and then it was Ming again. So it's just sort of a little bit of it's just figuring out a dance and coming up with a huge overall idea, and then whittling it down for whatever's actually, that you could pull off.
And then talking about the stunt doubles, every fight you see on TV or in a movie, the actor is mostly, there's a stunt double that you would then, they kind of have the same costume on and outfit and look a similar build, and they'll do it and just try and kind of hide their face.
Pretty much. I mean, I think a lot of the, you know, it mostly comes down to back of head acting. So if if the back of your head could look like somebody else, usually we could skip by with it. You'd actually be surprised the amount of people that have doubled. I mean, Clark's doubled Dane Farwell, who's freaking.
Oh my gosh.
Incredible career, but he's like a foot taller than Greg, and you know, then Clark. Then it's just crazy. But he's a foot taller, but it works so well because the back of his head looks so much like him, and you'd never be able to tell.
Everything he does, the way he walks, the way he moved his hand. I mean, he's doubled Clark for years, right? Before Shield, I feel like, and I've run out of times that I would tap him on the shoulder and just be so shocked that it wasn't Clark's face on his head. Yeah,
they look that much alike. It was crazy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Wow. But usually, we always try to use this stunt double very sparingly. So, you know, in a few, you know, blips, you would never even tell.
No. And I feel like as a stunt double.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said she's tall. The actor playing Agent Hand, she's like 6 feet. Because I remember when I met her at the office, I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she was like,
"She was tall."
Eye to eye.
Yeah,
she's very tall.
Yeah, she's amazing. We were just so excited to have Agent Hand there. I mean, that was so fun.
Matt, I have a question for you. It's actually several people have asked. Was there a specific character that was the most fun to design stunts for?
Oh, well, I mean, for May, she was the most fun because I don't know. No, everybody's been so much fun because you just never know, you know, where the stories are going to go. One of my favorite fights is obviously the Ming versus Ming fight in season 2, where Ming was himself. And that was just bonkers, you know, because the way that's an episode, but that was insanely nuts. But that was one of my favorites. I mean, the one we also did one also with Kevin Tantrone with Chloe, where it was kind of a John Wick style fight even before John Wick, where she goes into the Hydra base and she takes out all the Hydra people in one shot. And it was bonkers. And that's one of them that we did in less than, you know, 4 days. But again, Chloe she wanted to really do it. And then the first Ming versus Chloe fight in season 2, those are just some of my favorites because it was just you just be as creative as you want. We could be as creative as we wanted to be. And, you know, the sky was the limit. So, I mean, it's really hard to pick one.
Was this Chloe was really driving this car, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, everybody was super worried because where that ranch is at, it was like just bad road and, you know, really bumpy, and that was a super low car.
Can you hear me? No.
Oh yeah, I heard you.
Yeah. We could hear you, yeah.
You shouldn't be here.
Can you hear us, Bub? Looks like we lost Elizabeth. Just to let you guys know, I've also opened up the waiting rooms. We have a lot of people. If you're unfamiliar, at the end of the episode, we let a few.
I feel like you're about to come out. Yeah.
You were saying?
I was saying at the very end of the episode, we'll let some fans in to ask you guys specific questions, a couple of them. And then at the very end, we let everyone in. So we've opened it up and there's now 95 people waiting. So just a little exciting.
Don't open the way, because then I'm going to put the link in.
Oh, I already did. The link's already out. I already did it.
Oh, you already put it in the chat? Oh, okay. Well done. I was going to tell you to like close the waiting room, you know, like make sure it's not, you know, you clearly have done.
Yes, it's good to go.
And Matt, the nice hair.
Thanks. Yeah, the nice flat. That's Kofi Yodam and Alan Joe, who they're fighting there. I'm fighting Brett, Brett and
Odom family,
Gregor Mentor there.
from the Odom family, one of the biggest stunt families around.
Yeah.
Wow.
I worked with Greg Barnett a lot on. I did a show called Make It or Break It, and he and his son did a lot of stuff. Or Jeff's his son, right? Or am I flipping them? Okay,
that's right. Yeah, Jeff was, or Greg was doing 911 just recently. He's a great guy. One of the nicest guys you could ever meet.
This was such a fun day. Am I back?
We're back.
You are back. Yeah, you're back.
My man Sam. All right.
Oh, God. Torture, because this scene is amazing.
Chloe's actually having the effect that Clark's having here. He's in and out.
How long did this take to shoot, Matt? Do you remember?
Top to bottom, that was one day.
In the sand that day.
One day. We had 2 units going, but one day with the car stunts, the ratchets, the fight with myself and Brett, and with Ming and the other 2 stunt performers, and all the lead up and drop off stuff. So one day.
Whoa, you did all that in one day?
Yeah, and that's again why a lot of this, you really can attribute to amazing planning by the whole AD staff, planning by the whole production team, and the directors pulling it off, and second unit with Gary Brown pulling all that off as well. I mean, it was the biggest team effort that could be done in a single day. It was impressive. Every day was just crazy awesome.
How was it when people develop powers? How did you alter some of the stunt stuff to, like, if Quake is using if she's quaking, how do you accommodate for things like that?
Some of the stuff that we were trying to come up with, because there was, again, no rules. So we would sort of come up with concepts on how the powers could work and how they could evolve. And then we'd send it up to the creative team, because there is a process of, character integrity that we had to maintain, and where they ultimately they have much further vision into the future where they want the character to be at what point in the series. So we had to, show them what our concepts were for that, and then started to do it. But again, we sort of, especially with Quake and with Lincoln, we really wanted to take their powers to, those beginning stages to as far as we could. And then again, that was a huge combination of being able to work with the creative team, with the producers and writers, and with guys like Warren as well, who come up with ways that we could bring these characters to life in those hopefully creative aspects.
That was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun as a comic book fan to have to draw the practical version of these characters, because you can't do what they do in the comic because they didn't have the budget that a Marvel film would have. So you had to make it more doable, reality-based.
How has storyboarding evolved from when, because you showed before we started the live that you have a computer that you're actually working off of. Did you start just on like the original boarding? Yes,
about 10 years ago, most people went digital. The old school storyboards from the Hitchcock movies to Spielberg and Jurassic Park, they're all done paper, pencil, markers and all that. And then when Photoshop and Painter, which are 2 popular programs, came to be, then people started doing digital storyboards. So we're still illustrating. I have a thing called a Cintiq, which is basically a monitor which is flipped the same angle that a drawing table is. So you draw on that using a digital pen, which I have here. So I draw on that, which is like glass. And then what makes it easier is that we don't have to scan it. Like back in the old days, you had to draw on paper, put it in a copy machine, scan it, fax it to a client. It takes forever. Now, draw it out, save it, send it to your client by email. Bing.
So you prefer it on this versus using the pen and paper?
It's just easier. I like the old school. Nothing beats feeling of a pencil or marker on paper.
Right,
just
right.
That tactile feeling. But when you have to get stuff done,
This is much
nothing
easier.
beats be able to send it off. If I was doing something that was really detailed, like a comic book, then you really have the battle of digital versus feeling the paper, ink lines, brush strokes, and all that. But for what I do is storyboards, it's so much easier just to do work, save it. And if I had to make a change, if Matt were to tell me that's a nice shot, but can you move this character a few feet over on the screen, I would just select it, grab it, move it over. Can you make it a tighter shot? Select it, pull it out so it's a tight shot. Not wide enough or too wide, select it, push it in. So many things you can do. Then I can do effects like blur effects, which would like make it seem like someone has they're going fast. They're using speed. I could add color when I want. I can take things out. I can move if I have it on a layer, one thing on first layer, then another thing on second layer. I could change the first layer without interrupting the work on the second layer, which if I did it in the analog way of paper and pencil, I have to change everything and I have to white out whole parts of the artwork, and it's just a pain. So digital all the way.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's just so fascinating to me. I remember I've been on the Disney lot before and gone into some of their animation, and they have all of these old storyboards from Mickey, and it's just unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
it's amazing work, and they did everything by hand.
yeah.
And the sad thing is that the people that did it by hand, as soon as Pixar came in, Toy Story became so popular, a lot of those old school by hand artists got tossed out. Either you learned the new technology or they were tossed aside and they had to relearn everything.
Boy, that's just, I'm just in awe of your ability to not only do it
You
just
guys
with pen and paper. We kind of can. You're not on the screen anymore.
I know.
But we hear you well.
But we hear you.
Okay. Okay.
It's Obi-Wan?
Yeah, exactly. Where is she, Lil?
Boss.
So yes, that's how we do storyboards.
How was it difficult learning the new technology from going from pencil and paper? Or was it pretty intuitive?
The Cintiq is intuitive. Photoshop is pretty intuitive. You can pick it up fairly easier step by step. You still have to learn a lot. There are people that know Photoshop way more than I do. Deathlock, there you go. Who knows storyboards way more as far as Photoshop more than I do. But to get a basic knowledge of it, Photoshop is a fairly intuitive program where you can pick things up. But now you have things called, if other programs came in, Procreate, Manga Studio, I think it's Sketcher, all these other things pop up. So there's always something else that people will create.
Interesting.
You can learn.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bubba, are you there?
I am, but I don't think you guys can hear me. Can you?
We could hear you. You're just frozen, but I was going to bring someone in to ask questions. Do you want me to go ahead and admit them?
Yeah, let's do it. I have so many questions, but I'll wait till I have signal.
I'm so sorry.
That was a great episode, guys. Matt, you were so good at everything.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I love that episode.
So we're going to bring in Patricia. Let's see if she is there. She's just joining now. Patricia asked a couple of questions during the chat.
Hi, Patricia.
Says
wherever you are.
Says that she's joining, but I don't see her yet. Oh, here she comes.
Sometimes it takes a second. Why didn't Patricia's coming in?
Yeah, here's Patricia. We'll see if we can unmute her. Can you guys see her coming in? Hey, Patricia.
Hi there.
I think you're still muted. If you want to try and unmute.
Hello.
There you go.
Where are you?
Yep.
Yay.
Hey.
We're
Turn the
still
sound
not
up?
we're not getting it, Patricia.
Can't hear you.
And
I think there's a signal curse today.
Yeah, I think
You've caught my bug.
wow.
well, we might mute
Zach,
Patricia
it might
for the
be
time
worth admitting a second person too.
Yes, I will.
Hello?
I'm gonna bring.
So sorry.
Okay, there you are. Now we can hear you.
Oh, there we go, Patricia.
Hi. So good morning from
Good morning.
the Philippines. So my question is when you it's for Matt, by the way. So when you choreograph a fight sequences or fighting styles for different characters, how far along is the backstory that you get depending on which character? Like for May, we know that she's an agent of Shield. What difference between her and, for example, a different character? Like, how backstory do you have?
It always switches between each character. There's some characters that are very, very specifically defined and that we're growing with. So for Sky, like when she was in season 1 and 2, we had a better idea of where she was coming from. For May, with the whole idea that she was the cavalry and she was dealing with, some kind of thing in her past that was, that we don't know about, but she's obviously has all these skills. We had to be a little bit more sensitive with that. The only things that we knew is that she was a complete badass and that she had this one crazy, battle that happened to her. So those were kind of the only two things that we knew. And then as the writers and producers decide how they're going to end up telling her story throughout all these seasons, then we start to get those concepts. So again, it switches with every character, but we try to always find out what are the as much backstory as we can, because that affects our fight style for sure.
All right, thank you so much. Can I ask one short question?
Yeah, quick one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
How do you storyboard fight sequences?
Wow. Well, here's the thing. I don't usually storyboard an entire fight because the director and the stunt coordinator, or if he or she is also the fight coordinator, they like to really work things out. I can have an idea to say, you can start here. This is a basic foundation for something, but it really has to be worked out with the director, the stunt coordinator, and then the actors. Back in the day, Bruce Lee used to actually storyboard his fight scenes because he was an artist, so he would actually thumbnail them, but he was a person doing the fighting, so he can do it. So I will storyboard action sequences of fights starting, people running, cars, explosion, effects, but the actual fight scenes, usually the fight coordinator or stunt coordinator will take care of that part.
One of the things I love about Warren and storyboard artists in general is like they're the great communicator of kind of all the departments, like what you guys do with all the special effects with stunts. You speak stunt, you speak special effects, you speak director, you speak AD, and all those things actually is what helps all of us, turn out a product so quickly, especially in television.
I'm amazed at every single one of these that we've done, the amount of communication that every department has and how much liaising is done to like bring, it really is such a team effort to make what you ultimately see on screen. It's incredible.
Mind blowing.
You got to know teamwork.
Oof.
Well, I'm trying to bring in Steven here for a question. It says that he is connecting to audio. Thank you, Patricia. That was an awesome question. Both questions is awesome.
Bye.
Steven looks like a little bit of difficulty. So I'm going to see if he's not able to connect. It doesn't look like. Let's see. We'll try one other person here, and then I don't know. Our connection has not been great, so we might just call it a day. But let's try Kevin here, and try and bring in Kevin. But thank you all for watching along. Come on, Kevin. Come on.
Come on, you can do it.
Yeah, we could do it. But I'm glad it worked out for Patricia. The signal finally came
Yes.
together. We've completely
Great.
lost Elizabeth. So
Oh, no.
Big Hydra got her.
Yeah.
yes. Boy, Kevin is not connecting either. All right, I'm going to bring in one other person. Let's try Roosh.
Hey, wow.
Oh, here's Kevin. Looks like Kevin is coming in. We can hear Kevin. Elizabeth. So
Big Hydra got her.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
guys. Great to see everybody.
hey, there's Kevin. Not connecting either.
Let me try this again.
Okay, so now we're getting a bunch of people. So let's go to Kevin first. Kevin, what's your question? If we could just get you to mute the actual conversation going on, that would be awesome so we can hear you.
He muted himself.
Hold on. Elizabeth is trying to FaceTime me to potentially get back into this video. So I don't know if this is going to work. We're really juggling stuff. I'm going to try and unmute you, Kevin, so that you can ask your question. I clicked ask to unmute. Did it unmute you?
He's still
Okay,
muted.
am I on?
You're on.
You're on. We can hear you.
All right, that's terrific. Hey, it's great to see all you guys. Gee, I don't know if I really have a question, but I liked Matt's comment about Warren and how the fact that he kind of seems like the liaison between all the departments.
Sometimes, yeah.
That was great. The fact that you say that Matt said, that it really is a team kind of thing. Oh, wow, there's Lil. Hi, Lil.
Can you hear it?
I don't know if you can hear me, but it's great to see you.
I can't believe I'm not on this.
That's hilarious.
Well, I kind of have a question for Lil if Zach wants to relay it.
I'll relay it to you. What is your, maybe I can hold her like this. What's your question for Lil?
Okay, well, I got a question, goes back to the pilot, actually. And
Okay.
one of her first lines is she says, I'm not Hermione. I can't she says, I'm not Hermione. And the question I have for Lil is, since you're actually about the right age, did you actually ever audition for Harry Potter and, of course, for Hermione specifically?
Did you get all that, Lil?
I didn't hit any of that.
Yeah, I kind of feel.
Oh, because you're on my headphone.
Ah,
He said that did you ever audition for Hermione in Harry Potter?
Oh my God, no. I wish I had. They held open auditions for that anybody could go to. But I think I was probably was only about 12 at the time, and that was
Right.
just not on my radar. But can you imagine? I would have loved that.
well, I thought of that because that's one of your first lines in the show, in the pilot episode.
Yeah, you're so right, Hermione. I can't create instant paralysis with that.
That was it. That was the line. Yeah. Well, I have to say, I think you would have made an amazing Hermione, but I'm very happy that we got 7 seasons of you as Gemma. We got more time to know you as Gemma than we would have gotten to see you as Hermione. And I just appreciate all the work you've done in that role. And we just love you. You're just so amazing as that character.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I'm now sitting on the floor in the hall as close as I can get to the Wi-Fi modem. I'm going to out the next week, but thank you guys for hanging in there. Thank you to Matt. Thank you, Warren. Thank you guys for your question. I wish I could say that I have loved this week, but I'm frustrated that I can't be in it as much. But thank you. I so appreciate you being here. You're both so talented. And
Roosh?
We brought Roosh in, so Bubba, we're gonna see if she has a question that she'd like to ask really quickly. If you're still on here, do you have anything?
Hi,
Roosh?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. I was actually on a few weeks before. I feel really bad for being on again.
Oh, you shouldn't. Do you have any questions for Warren or Matt or Elizabeth or?
Yeah. I mean, I have multiple, but I'll go for Elizabeth. So I was just wondering. Obviously, you did your audition scene with Ian, and you did the scene that eventually ends up becoming the finale when you guys in the pod. So I was just wondering, what was it like when you were at the table read and you found out that you were going to do your audition scene as a scene in the finale?
I think we knew before that scene was going to be the finale scene a couple of episodes before, and I think I just felt like an out-of-body experience. It was full circle, and then on the day it was filming it, I think as soon as you get any of those scenes, it's probably like Matt when he gets a huge fight scene, it's all you ever want, but then you get that kind of nervousness in your stomach of, oh my gosh, I have to do the scene justice now. And maybe similar to Warren, when you've got a storyboard, like your dream sequence,
Right.
There's pressure there. So yeah, that day was just very intense. But I also loved it. And when we were shooting the finale, we didn't know that we were going to get a second season. So, and I think that was the last scene that we shot of the finale, that I shot at least. So I wasn't sure if this was the last time I was ever going to be in a scene with Ian or any of that stuff. But yeah, how cool was that? That our audition scene, they thought that far forward. I mean, obviously, but it's kind of crazy to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it was really cool because obviously I think the screen test came out after you guys had, like, the season 1 had been released, and so everyone was really surprised to find out that you had auditioned with that scene because it's such an intense scene to do.
I know, just throw it out as in the audition, for God's sake.
Well, I think we talked about it too, because sometimes you get audition material and it's just completely written for the audition, and then other material it's captured from either the pilot or some future episode, and so the whole season kept coming along and that never popped up, and so then for that to happen, it was kind of a cool realization.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you for answering.
Thank you for your question. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
This is like very meta right now.
Well,
hey Zach, should we let a bunch of people in?
yes, we're gonna let everyone in.
Should I just talk over someone? Or can you hear my clock?
I'm gonna admit all, so everyone's gonna start pouring in.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yes,
Brady
thank you.
Bunch.
Bye.
Thank you for
Bye.
your patience.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for a good Sunday.
We're gonna let everyone in.
Hi.
Hope you have a good week.
Hello there.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Everyone stay safe.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Love you, Lil.
Hi, guys. Hi. Thanks for letting me on.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Love it. Chloe is super over there.
Thank you for tuning in.
It makes me laugh, but it's also like,
All right.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm not even turning
Maya,
on together.
and Zachary,
By Lil, by Warren, by Matt. Coming this week.
Friends, you guys were
Great
awesome.
time.